Hello everybody and welcome to Growing Hope's latest video titled Little Movers. My name is Ashley and today we're going to unpack everything about movement, gross motor and fine motor. We are creating these curriculum training videos to support ECD Center caregivers who may not have access to professional development training due to lack of funding. From a personal point of view, these videos have been extremely rewarding and enriching, and I really hope that they have impacted you in your own personal settings as well. So just to give us a little bit of groundwork, we're taking the South African National Curriculum Framework, which is a very comprehensive curriculum framework, and we're unpacking it section by section, making practical examples and ways to implement these different learning areas. So there are 6 elders, early learning development areas covered by the curriculum framework. We are still in the wellness, which is the elder 1, and today we are doing section D, which is all about physical activities. So I hope you're excited, I hope you're ready, and let's get started. What will we be learning today? Today we're going to unpack what motor development is and how it will benefit our children. Then we will look at milestones. We'll break the milestones into 3 distinct groups. So firstly we will have your babies, which is your 0 to 1. Then we will look at your younger toddlers, 1 to 2 years old. And then we will look at your older toddlers, which is 2 to 3. After that, we'll look at some sensory integration. How do we incorporate the senses into motor development activities? We will discuss some red flags, what to do if you notice these red flags, and who to also contact. We will then also have a look at how everyday routines and activities can be opportunities to promote motor development in a very child-centered way. After that, we can have a look at some DIY activities and toys that you can create in your own facilities, keeping in mind, obviously, budget constraints. And then we'll have our ending and conclusion, and we will end the video. So I hope you're ready. Let's go. What is motor development? Motor development refers to the gradual strengthening and coordination of muscles that allow babies to move, explore, and interact with their world. What does that mean? It means that muscles grow and develop strength and work together in order to allow the children to move and explore around their environments. We can break motor development into 2 definite skills. The first skill is gross motor skills. The second is fine motor skills. Gross motor skills refer to the large muscle groups, your legs, your arms, your trunk, which is your tummy. And this enables the child to do large movements like rolling, crawling, walking, and jumping. Fine motor skills are the small, precise actions like grasping, stacking, drawing, and self-feeding. These fine motor skills refer to the smaller muscles, the muscles in your hands. This might come as a surprise for you, but simple motor movement doesn't only affect the muscles of a child and helping them explore their world. It also impacts their cognitive growth, their emotional growth, and their social growth. Cognitively, how the child thinks and problem solves. Movement activates certain neural pathways in the brain that is linked to supporting memory and attention and problem solving. Now let's look at emotional growth. Physical play helps babies release tension and self-soothe. By mastering new movements, they build self-confidence and resilience. I can do it! And rhythmic activities like rocking or bouncing can calm anxiety and support emotional regulation, which is very important for children in our facilities. Then we look at some social growth benefits. Movement invites interaction. Peekaboo, chasing games, dancing with others, it's a way of communicating with others. Shared physical play teaches turn-taking. It teaches empathy and communication. And babies often express joy or frustration or even excitement through moving before they have words. So these different areas of development are crucial, and they come hand in hand with motor development. Moving on to developmental milestones by age group. Purely for the sake of time, I really don't want to keep us here forever and ever, so I'm going to ask you please to pause the video and you can have a look at the slides in a more careful fashion. But for now, I'm just going to run through them very quickly and give you the overview. So firstly, we're going to look at our baby group, our 0 to 12 months old. We're going to look at the gross motor first. These are the large movements involving the head, the neck, the trunk, and the arms and the legs. So Here are some activities we could do as tummy time, which would build the neck and shoulders and core strength. We could encourage some floor play, which encourages reaching and rolling and pivoting, which is stretching. We can do supported sitting by either having the children on cushions or even placing them on your lap and letting them build that core strength. Or we can have some standing games, let the baby bounce while they are held upright. Then we can look at some fine motor development. These involve the smaller, more precise movements of the hands, fingers, and the eyes. So here the supportive activities could be high contrast toys, so black and white. This would encourage visual tracking and reaching. Then we can encourage the babies to grasp toys, the soft rattles, the textured rings, the chunky cloths. These things just for grasping would develop the fine motor skills. Hand-to-hand transfer, offering 2 toys and encouraging switching. And then we can have snack play, using small safe finger foods to build pincer grip. So tips for caregivers, this would be to celebrate effort. It is not just about achievement. Every wiggle counts, remember? Babies develop at different rates. We have to focus on progress and not perfection. We can use daily routines, as will be discussed later on, as motor opportunities, and don't forget to always narrate the movements to build language and connection. You are reaching so far. You are doing such a great rolling job. Always use words to describe what the babies are doing, because this will really improve their language and build connection. Next up, we are looking at our young toddlers, our 13 to 24 months. These little guys are all about exploration and coordination. So let's dive into gross motor. The gross motor supportive activities are obstacle courses. We can create obstacle courses by using cushions, tunnels, and boxes. This would encourage climbing and crawling. Push toys, if you have in your facility, builds coordination and balance. Ball play, rolling, kicking, even gentle throwing games encourage gross motor coordination. And dancing. Action songs like Head, Shoulders, Knees and Toes, or even Ring a Ring a Roses. These are great supportive activities to boost gross motor development. Now let's look at fine motor development. Here we can look at stacking and sorting, blocks, even nesting cups, shape sorters, anything that you guys have in your facilities that could be stacked one on top of each other or sorted according to color, shape, size. This is very good activities for fine motor. We can do art play, crayons, finger painting, chunky brushes, even using sticks. This is all a part of art play and would develop the fine motor skills. Then we can look at some self-care practice, encourage dressing, feeding, washing hands, things like putting on socks. These are very fun activities for little toddlers. And then things like pegboards, large beads, and Velcro toys. These are called manipulatives because we have to manipulate them. These would be great fine motor activities as well. So let's have a look at some tips for caregivers. Toddlers thrive on repetition. We need to let them try and fail and try again. We need to offer choices to build autonomy. So do you want to climb or do you want to crawl? Do you want this or do you want that? Always give them a choice to choose between. We can use descriptive praise to reinforce effort. You stacked all the blocks, again with using our language to describe their actions. And we have to be very mindful that their play will be messy. So let's be patient with the mess. Motor learning is often sticky, it's splashy, but it is very joyful. So let's have some fun. And finally, to discuss 35 to 36 months, our older toddlers. These guys are all about refinement and independence. They want to be independent and learning how to do their own stuff. So let's dive into some gross motor development. These children show improved balance, improved strength, and improved coordination. How can we support them? We can create things like balance games, things like stepping stones. If you're playing follow the leader, encourage the children to walk on their tippy toes, or even some yoga poses which encourage balance. We could have some jumping fun, some mini trampolines. If you don't have trampolines, take some chalk and draw a hopscotch on the ground. This would encourage jumping. We could also jump over soft objects. We can continue with our ball play as with the previous toddlers, but now we can extend them a bit further. We can catch and kick and roll and even play target games. Can you throw the ball into that cardboard box, which I painted orange or green? Those kind of target games. And then we have outdoor exploration. Outdoor exploration is vital for children and their gross motor development. Here we could do nature walks, climbing frames, and if you are fortunate, you can have scooter rides. These all develop the gross motor muscles. Moving on to fine motor development, toddlers now use their hands in a much greater control, preparing them for drawing and dressing and tool use. So what we can do to support this is give them ample opportunity for arts and crafts, things where they can glue and cut and stamp. This would really help develop their fine motor skills. We could encourage pretend play, things like dressing dolls, using tools, or even feeding stuffed animals. These pretend play activities foster lots of natural experiences for the children to develop their fine motor skills. There's also self-care practice in this section. Things like brushing teeth, washing hands, putting shoes on. These require a lot of fine motor skills, and the more practice, the better these children will become. And then again with the manipulatives, pegboards, puzzles, lacing cards, even Play-Doh sculpting. That is an excellent way, and there are lots of Play-Doh recipes available on the internet that are very affordable to make at home or in your facility. Let's have some tips for caregivers now. We need to encourage independence with gentle guidance. So things like, why don't you try first and then I will help you. This will boost their self-confidence. We must offer open-ended materials to spark creativity and problem solving. Instead of saying, use the pencil to color that in, be like, what would you use to color the hat? And then they would be able to choose the appropriate, they could choose a crayon or they could choose the pencil. But by giving them that open option allows them to think a little bit and to solve their own problems. Again, we need to celebrate effort and persistence. Refinement takes time. These guys are not going to do it for the first time, and that is one of our main roles, is to remain patient and to give ample opportunity for repeated practice. And that is where the growth comes in, and we can see it. And then we can use movement to support emotional regulation. So if we find that the children are feeling overwhelmed, we could use movement to calm them. We could rock, we could do some yoga, we could do some dancing to boost up the energy, but we could use movement to regulate the emotions as to what we want. If we want calmer behavior, we can do calmer activities. There's a wonderful game called Sleeping Lions where you have the children lying down and pretend to freeze like little lions, and that is a very calming activity. But if you want to get them ready for an activity that you want, we could play a dancing game or follow the leader game, which gets them all hyped up. So these kind of activities are used for the developmental milestones of older toddlers. Now let's look at sensory integration and motor skills. We know that the sensory information for a baby and a toddler is foundational for their motor development. When sensory systems work together smoothly, children will develop confidence, they'll be able to explore their environment, and they will learn through play. When integration is disrupted, that's when we can see motor delays, some coordination challenges, and even emotional dysregulation. So it is very important for us to be cognizant or be aware of sensory integration. So again, what is sensory integration? It's the brain's ability to receive, process, and respond to information from the senses, from touch, sight, sound, movement, and body position. So let's look at some of the actual sensory systems and their role in motor output. So when we have the system of vision, the visual system, that's the children can better track their toys, reach for toys, stack blocks. So that visual stimulation is very important. It helps with hand-eye coordination. Then we look at the auditory input. Auditory input would help dancing, moving, responding to sounds. This would support rhythm and timing, even attention. So it's very important that we have the auditory system, the dancing, the responding to sounds in place very often. And then we have the sensation of touch. This would enable the child to feel textures, to hold toys, even walking barefoot, walking on tippy toes. The tactile system of touch guides with grasping, it helps with balance and in spatial awareness, so knowing where their bodies are in space, which is very important. Then we get the movement or the balance input. This helps swinging, spinning, rocking, and crawling, which would help with posture, coordination, and even head control. Then we can look at the body awareness. Body awareness would help the children in terms of their climbing, their pushing, their pulling, even their jumping skills. It supports strength and joint stability, and it helps in motor planning. So you can see just by having a look at just those different sensory inputs, how much they actually impact motor output. Right, so how do we create a sensory rich environment? We give the children lots of opportunities to explore and lots of different variations. So we can provide them with layered textures. This is soft blankets next to bumpy mats, so they can compare the two, even squishy toys. We can have areas designated in our facilities called movement zones. So when the children go into that zone, they know that they have to do 7 different ways of crawling. How can you climb? Show me a different way of rolling. So they explore their bodies in a physical way. You can introduce sound play, so shakers, bells, even gentle music would integrate that auditory system along with the movement. We could do lots of visual stimulation where you have the high contrast toys, mixing 2 different colors, placing 2 different colors next to each other, especially if they're very opposite, like black and white for babies is a very good visual stimulation. Also mobiles and mirrors. And then we can have some water and messy play, pouring, splashing, and scooping. All these sensory integrations really impact motor movement and are vital and foundational for motor development in babies and toddlers. Red flags and when to seek support. So every child develops at their own rate, but some delays or differences in motor development may be a sign that they need a little bit of extra support. Caregivers are often the first to notice when something feels a bit off, and trusting that instinct is key. It is crucially important for caregivers to keep a simple journal or a log of the children that they look after. This would help in identifying any regression or seeing any behavioral changes in a more consistent way. What do we do if we do find an issue with the children? So things like if milestones are consistently missed or if they're being regressed, if the children's behavior is regressing, going back to a lower level, if movement seems painful, effortful, or emotionally distressing, if sensory sensitivities interfere with play or daily routines, that these are when you should seek support, when you should go to your superior in your facility and ask them for help, ask them what to do. I have listed a few common red flags according to age band. This is not exclusive, and this is just a general overview of the things that could be identified within these age groups. Please always consult with a pediatrician or a doctor for any concerns. Just out of interest sake, who could help us? Pediatricians are the doctors who are our first point of contact for developmental concerns. Our physiotherapists, they are the people who deal with gross motor strength and coordination and posture. And then your occupational therapists or your OTs, they support fine motor, sensory, and self-care skills. Let's look at everyday routines as motor opportunities. Babies and toddlers don't need fancy equipment or scheduled exercise to build motor skills. Their best gym is daily life. Every routine, from dressing to mealtime, is a chance to strengthen muscles and refine coordination and build independence. So let's have a look at some of these in more detail. We have bath time, gross motor opportunities like kicking in the water, reaching for bubbles, or even sitting upright. Fine motor opportunities, squeezing sponges, grasping toys, rubbing soap on skin. It is a good idea to use some textured cloths, some floating toys, and some gentle massaging to stimulate sensory motor pathways. Then we look at meal time. Meal time for gross motor is sitting with stability, reaching for food, even lifting utensils. Fine motor, pincer grip with finger foods, scooping with a spoon, even opening plastic containers. It is a good idea to let toddlers self-feed with the mess, yes, the mess, offer a variety of textures, and use child-sized tools. What about dressing and undressing? For gross motor, this requires balancing while standing, lifting up your arms and legs, even pulling your clothes. For fine motor, buttoning, zipping, pulling socks, even using Velcro, opening and tearing off Velcro. Turn dressing into a game. Can you find your toes? And offer choices to build autonomy. So if you have 2 shirts, which would you rather? Would you rather wear the blue shirt or the red shirt today? Let's look at helping around the facility. So for gross motor, we could carry light items, we could even sweep or climb onto little chairs. For fine motor, we could sort socks, we could turn knobs, and we can even wipe surfaces. That builds lots of hand-eye coordination. So a tip would be to create a toddler safe task for pouring water into plants, for example, or matching socks or stirring batter. Then we can look at outdoor play. Outdoor play for gross motor would include walking, climbing, jumping, and pushing. Fine motor, picking flowers, turning pages, or even opening snack packs. Don't forget to always narrate the movements. Tell them what they're doing with words. You're stepping over the crack, and encourage exploration. What we could do is have a mindset shift as caregivers. Movement isn't extra, it is embedded in these children. We are again going to celebrate effort and not perfection, and we can use our routines to build connection, to build confidence, and to build coordination. And finally, let's discuss DIY toys and activity ideas. These are budget friendly, these are safe, and they are sensory rich. So we don't need to have expensive toys to support motor development. We just need a little bit of creativity, a few household items, and a willingness to get a bit messy. These DIY ideas can spark movement, coordination, and connection ideas. So let's have a look at the babies. So our focus here is going to be on sensory exploration for grasping, for reaching, and for tummy time. So we could have textured boards by gluing different types of fabric. We can have felt and foil, sponge, or even lace onto cardboard boxes for tactile play. We can have sensory bottles. You collect clear plastic bottles and you fill them with water and glitter, beads, or pasta. Great for visual tracking and grasping. Remember to keep these out of reach when the children are not being attended to. We can have crinkle squares. You sew or you glue crinkly material, like even chip bags, between fabric layers, and that would make a crinkly kind of texture feeling. And then you can have tummy time with a mirror on a mat. You place the baby on their tummy with a safe baby mirror and some dangling ribbons or some soft toys. This is great sensory stimulation and toys and activities for babies. Let's move on to toddlers, 13 to 24 months. Here our focus is coordination. We are focusing on stacking, on walking, and cause and effect. So our obstacle course has popped up again to use cushions and boxes and tunnels. We have sock toss game. You're going to fill socks with rice and toss them into a basket or into a box. Great for throwing and aiming. We can have a sticky wall. You put sticky tape on the inside out to a cardboard box and lean it against the wall, and you ask the kids to stick some light objects to stick and peel it off. How much fun! And you can have a scooping station. You can use spoons and cups, dry rice and lentils. You can even have an outdoor messy play mud garden, the best. Now let's move on to older toddlers, 25 to 36 months. Here our focus is precision, it's balance, self-help, and imaginative play. We can have a threading station. You can use shoelaces or even pasta tubes and large beads to thread them together. What a wonderful fine motor activity. You can have button snake, where you sew a few buttons to a ribbon and offer different felt shapes and buttonholes to thread through. You can have some Play-Doh tools. You make some homemade Play-Doh and you have a range of cookie cutters, rolling pins, and plastic knives. Anything will do. Even if you don't have these resources, you can make them. You can be very creative and use different objects to serve the same purpose. And then we have our pretend play, where we have either kitchen or garden with safe household items, even old bottles, where the children are allowed to play. So as always, I love to give some caregiver tips. So you're always told to supervise play, even if it is with the outside door play. Children need supervision above everything else. Safety always comes first. And it's a good idea to rotate toys and activities week from week to keep the ideas fresh. Let the children lead, follow their curiosity. Let them see what they want to do. If they want to sing one week, then you sing. If they want to play outside, let them play. Let them lead and be a part of their own learning journey. We have reached the end of our 4th video. Elder 1D is complete. Big tick mark. So let's just recap what we learned today. Today we unpacked everything motor development. We learned what it is. We looked at all the developmental milestones and ways that we can support the children along their different milestone journey. We looked at some sensory integration ideas, some red flags, how to incorporate movement into everyday activities, and finally some DIY activities and toys that are budget friendly. I really hope this video has broadened your idea of motor development and how important this area is, and some practical tips and suggestions on how to create more opportunities for the children in your ECD center. So below I have attached some reflection points. I encourage you to pause the video, grab out your journal and read the reflection points and think about it and record your responses. This will really help the learning become meaningful and personal to you in your own personal setting. Just a final word of thanks. Thanks for watching. My name is Ashley. It's been a privilege to be with you today and to guide you through this curriculum training. We offer it completely free to ECDs in need. If you happen to be a well-funded ECD and you would like to donate to this channel, please do. The link is on my YouTube page. We'd be very grateful. But know that we pray that this video and all the videos to come land in good hands, and we are planting seeds that will produce many, many beautiful trees of learning in the future. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and share with any person you feel might find value out of this training, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching once again. God bless and goodbye.